On today's episode, we're diving into a topic we haven't discussed in a while, the potential trade for the Cincinnati Bengals star pass rusher and NFL sack leader for 2024, Trey Hendrickson. If you missed it, let's break it down step by step. Hendrickson recently appeared on the Pat McAfee Show, where he responded to some comments made by Bengals EVP Katie Blackburn. I want to share a bit of what she said because it doesn't send a great message to either Hendrickson or the fans. She mentioned he should be happy at certain rates that maybe he doesn't think he'd be happy at. Hold on a second, are you really telling your employee to just deal with it? It sounds like they're saying, we're giving you a fair offer, but it doesn't even seem like they've made one. She also added, I think some of it is on him to be happy. This reminds me of when you work really hard and your boss rewards you with a pizza party instead of a Christmas bonus, and then they act like you're ungrateful for wanting cash instead. This information came from Ben Baby, the Bengals beat reporter for ESPN. After these comments, Pat McAfee had Hendrickson on his show, and there were some important takeaways. Hendrickson expressed that he found Blackburn's comments disappointing and mentioned that communication has been lacking over the past few months. He said, it's been a little frustrating. If they have anything they'd like to discuss, we're definitely willing to listen. Hendrickson made it clear that he's been a key player for the Bengals, racking up 17.5 sacks over the last 2 years. He feels like he's the best player on the defense, yet his team isn't even talking to him or his agent. That's a tough situation for Cincinnati. He also mentioned that he hoped an article about his contract situation was an April Fool's joke, but sadly, it wasn't. Hendrickson values communication, and he's frustrated that the Bengals haven't reached out to his agent directly. He acknowledged that this is part of the business, but it's still disappointing. Now, credit where it's due, the Bengals did manage to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but it cost them more in the long run by delaying those deals. They gave Chase a massive 4-year extension, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history, and Higgins became the highest-paid number 2 receiver. However, not even talking to Hendrickson's agent is a big misstep. Hendrickson has stated he's okay with sitting out this season if necessary. It seems like there's no peaceful resolution in sight. The Bengals EVP is telling him to suck it up, while Hendrickson just wants to settle down and be a Bengal long-term. The Bengals, on the other hand, are saying he should be happy with what he has right now. Financially, I'm not sure how the Bengals will resolve this. They're often considered one of the poorer teams in the NFL, and I don't mean that lightly. The Bengals are a family-run business and don't have the same financial backing as teams like the Falcons. Remember, not too long ago, they struggled to sell tickets for a home playoff game. This year, they're paying in cash. Over $100 million combined for Burrow, Chase, and Higgins alone, and that doesn't even cover the rest of the roster. I just don't see how they can put together a fair offer for Hendrickson, especially since it sounds like they haven't even made him one yet. So let's discuss what a trade to Atlanta could look like as the situation in Cincinnati continues to deteriorate. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends at Prize Picks. Spring is here, which means baseball season is back. As we film this during our Thursday live show, I hope the Braves have snagged a win by the time you're watching. If not, you might want to consider betting on a few of the batters in their lineup. Here's how Prize Picks works. You choose whether to pick more or less on the projected stats of 2 to 6 players. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. One of my favorite features is that you don't have to get every pick right. You can go 3 for 4 or 4 for 5 and still walk away with some cash in your pocket. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All the details are in the comments and description of today's video. Remember, Prize Picks runs your game. Now, back to Trey Hendrickson. We remember him from his time with the New Orleans Saints before he joined the Bengals after a breakout 2020 season. He really delivered for Cincinnati, posting 14 sacks, then 8 sacks, and back-to-back seasons with 17.5 sacks. He also recorded 19 tackles for loss, proving he's not just a third-down specialist, he can stop the run too. I almost feel bad for Hendrickson because he's having amazing seasons during an era dominated by stars like Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, and Micah Parsons, who tend to steal the spotlight. I'm definitely interested in a trade for Hendrickson, but I have a couple of important points to consider. First, what would it cost to get him? I'm not willing to give up too much for a 30-year-old player. So I've come up with two creative trade ideas that lean in Atlanta's favor. The relationship between Hendrickson and Cincinnati is deteriorating quickly, and they might not receive many competitive offers since other teams could lowball them. Here's my first trade idea. Trey Hendrickson goes to the Falcons along with the Bengals' first-round pick. In return, the Bengals get Atlanta's first-round pick, moving up 2 spots, plus a future second-round pick. However, I just realized that the Bengals might decline this offer because moving up 2 spots means they'd have to pay a little more for the 15th pick than for the 17th. Since they're not in the best financial situation, they might prefer to pick later to save money on a rookie contract. Still, this trade would be a cost-effective package for Atlanta. Moving back 2 spots and only giving up a future second-round pick for a player with 17.5 sacks is a pretty good deal. It might be a bit ambitious, but you never know. My second trade idea is a bit more realistic. Hendrickson and the Bengals' second-round pick this year, pick 49, go to Atlanta in exchange for the Falcons' first-round pick. This way, the Falcons would walk away from the draft with Hendrickson and 2 second-round picks in the first 2 days. Since they don't have a third-round pick that belongs to the Patriots, you could view it as getting Hendrickson and an extra second-round pick while moving from 15 to 49. So what do you think? Would you be open to trading for Trey Hendrickson? If you're in favor of the trade, give me a T for trade. If you'd rather pass, give me a P for pass. Just remember, while I'm open to this trade, it has to be at a reasonable cost. The second point to consider is that with this trade, you also need to factor in a new contract for Hendrickson. If you look at the highest-paid edge rushers in the league, I don't think Hendrickson is aiming to become the next highest-paid player. I think what Hendrickson really wants is a long-term deal. Right now, he's sitting at number 10 among edge rushers with a salary of $21 million. I believe there's a good middle ground to be found, somewhere around what Nick Bosa and Josh Allen are making. If I had to guess what a contract extension for Hendrickson could look like, I'd say something like 3 years for $90 million. That breaks down to about $30 million a season, which would make him the 4th highest-paid edge rusher in the league. He'll be turning 31 in December, and out of that $90 million, you could probably guarantee around $60 million. So it would essentially be a 2-year, $60 million contract for a player who has been a top 5 pass rusher over the last 4 years. No doubt about it. Now, I know that sounds a bit steep, and this brings me to my second important point. If you're going to make this kind of investment, it's crucial to ensure the timing is right for your team. You don't want to give up valuable draft picks and then commit a significant portion of your salary cap if your offense isn't ready to perform. How much faith do you have in Michael Penix? If you believe he's going to take that big step forward and become the franchise quarterback, then spending $30 million on Hendrickson could be a bargain. He wouldn't even be among the top 3 highest-paid players at his position. But if you make this move and Penix isn't the guy, then you risk losing out on good draft capital and tying up a lot of money in a player who can help your team. If you don't have the right quarterback, nothing else really matters. This is the big consideration. If you're thinking, hey, I want to wait a bit to make sure we have the right quarterback, I completely understand. I'm on the same page. I believe in Michael Penix. I was very high on him coming out of Washington. This situation reminds me of when the Bears traded for Khalil Mack. They did that around the same time Mitch Trubisky was entering his 2nd year, and the Bears thought, we have our quarterback, so let's go get an incredible player on defense. If Trubisky had turned out to be the guy, it would have been a slam dunk. Unfortunately, while Mack played well and the Bears made the playoffs twice with him, they never won a playoff game because they didn't have the right quarterback. If they had known they didn't have their quarterback figured out, they probably wouldn't have made that trade. So, before we start planning the side dishes, we need to make sure we have the right main course. Let's not overspend on dessert when we don't have the meat and potatoes ready. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe on your way out, and I'll see everyone next time.